So sex determination before birth. So before going to the determine the sex of the developing fetus, okay, now there is a zygote stage. It is not at all a fetus called as fetus. It is in that zygote stage. In that zygote stage itself, what we can determine the sex of the future of the zygote. Okay, so how we can determine, before going to understand, in human beings, okay, the males are always called as heterogametic, okay, and females are called as homogametic. Means the gametes of the male produced are always heterogametic and the females produced, that is egg, are homogametic. What are the gametes here? Sperms, and here it is egg or ovum, right? So what happens? The sperm, we know there are 4 number of sperms from each spermatogonial cells, where the 50% are X, they contain X chromosome, and the remaining 50% of a sperm, they contain Y sex chromosome, whereas the egg is always, they contain X chromosome. Okay, so hence based on this, okay, there are 2 kinds of sperm, 50%. Within the 4 sperm, 2 sperms are with the X chromosome, 2 sperms are with the Y chromosomes. Whereas there is a production of a single egg or ovum, right? They are always, they contain X chromosomes. So based on this, the male are heterogametic and the female are homogametic. Okay, by understanding this, we can start understanding the sex determination in human beings. So what happens during the sex determination? Okay, so the male gamete, we know X, one is sperm and another 50% sperm is Y. Whereas in females, only X, egg. Okay, so what happens if this sperm is fused with egg, or this sperm is fused with egg? So what happens if this sperm containing Y chromosome fuses with egg? Then the offsprings are X, Y. If the sperm containing egg fuses with a sperm containing X fuses with egg, then the zygote is XX. Means this will lead to the female baby and this will lead to the male baby. So like this, there will be a sex determined. Okay, the sex is determined with the help of chromosomes. And here you can say, see, always they'll tell, okay, female baby, if it is produced, developed, they curse. Okay, female ಹೆಣ್ಣು ಮಗು ಆದರೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಕರ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಮದರಿಗೆ ಕರ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಇದನ್ನು ನೋಡಿರ್ಬೋದು ನೀವು. ಬಟ್ ಸೊ ಈ ಒಂದು ಕ್ರೋಮೋಸೋಮಲ್ ಸೆಕ್ಸ್ ಡಿಟರ್ಮಿನೇಷನಿಂದ ನಾವು ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದೇನು, ಫೀಮೇಲ್ ಬೇಬಿ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಆಗೋಕ್ಕೆ who is the reason here? Okay, the father is always the reason to produce the female baby. Why? Because of mother is always X. Okay, if Y is contributed for by the father, boy baby is formed, the progeny is a male individual. But if it is X sperm get fused with the X egg, then the fetus will be female. So hence the contribution, the both sex determination contribution is especially from the male individuals only. Okay, so this is how the sex determination in human beings. Next we'll start with the post-fertilization event. So that is implantation. I'll draw. Okay, so soon after the zygote development, so this is the zygote which is formed after the fertilization, which include the mixed characters of both female and male, because the genetic material containing nucleus get fused now. Okay, it may be XX or XY. We don't know which is sperm. The sperm with X, if it is fuses, then it is XX. The sperm with Y, if it is get fused, then it is XY. Okay, this is the zygote. Now the zygote get attached with the uterine wall. Okay, the zygote now will get attached with the uterine wall, that is endometrium wall of uterus. This process we call it as implantation. This is the first process in post fertilization event. Okay, so that first process is called as implantation. Okay, so what happens? What is implantation? Attachment of blastocyst on the endometrium wall of the uterus. Okay, now what is blastocyst? So there is only zygote, and what is blastocyst? So what happens soon after there is a zygote development? They travel. Okay, how they travel? They travel from the fallopian tube till the uterus. During this time, they get converted. Okay, they undergo, what happens? They undergo cleavage. Cleavage is a kind of division. Okay, cell division only. It's a kind of cell division, but it is vigorous or quick cell division. Okay, so what happens? This zygote undergo division, that is a cleavage, and they form two-celled stage. Okay, again they divide, they form, that is a four-celled. Okay, 4 to 8, and in the same way they divide and they form 16. That is 8 to 16 celled stage, and all these cells are called as blastomeres. Okay, this 8 to 16 staged ball, solid ball like structure, we call it as morula. Okay, once a morula is formed, again the blastomeres, that is 8 to 16 or 32 blastomeres which is present within the cell is rearranged. Okay, rearranged, and they form a first embryonic structure, and that first embryonic structure we call it as This we call it as blastula or blastocyst. This blastocyst, what happens? They now get attached to the endometrium wall. Okay, this attachment, this blastocyst get attached. This attachment we call it as implantation, and from the zygote they travel and they attach. No, it will take usually 7 days after the fertilization. The blastula attachment, that is implantation, is of 7 days. Once they attach to the endometrium wall of the uterus, this will lead to what? This will lead to pregnancy. After the implantation, this will lead to the pregnancy. Okay, one more time I'll tell you. So soon after, what happens? Zygote formation. After the fertilization, they undergo cleavage and they divided into 2-cell, 8-celled, okay, 4-celled, 8 to 16. So 8 to 16 celled stage, which is ball-like, solid ball-like appearance, that we call it as morula. Once the morula is formed, the cells or the blastomeres which is present in that, they get rearranged like this. Okay, this is structure rearranged, and they contain a central cavity and some cells which are very useful for the development of fetus, embryonic development of fetus. And the cells which are very important for the development of the fetus, embryonic development, that cell we call it as inner mass of cell, and the outer wall we call it as trophoblast, and the central cavity is called as blastocoel, and this structure is called as blastula. In humans it is called as blastula, but normally it is called as blastocyst. Okay, from the morula, what happens? The cells or the blastomeres get rearranged like this, so that some mass of the cells push towards one corner called as inner mass of cells, and other form a wall that we call it as trophoblast, and there will be a cavity at the center. That cavity is called as blastocoel. Okay, based on this blastocoel only we can differentiate the different stages. Okay, at this stage only there will be implantation. Okay, and this blastula is called as first embryonic stage. This is the first embryonic stage. From this only there will be fetus development. Understood? This we call it as implantation, and which leads to pregnancy. And this development, how many days? After the fertilization, at the 7th day. Okay, 7th day of the fertilization there will be implantation. ಇವಾಗ ಒಂದ್ಸಲ coitus perform ಆಯಿತು, intercourse ಆಯಿತು, copulation ಆಯಿತು ಅಂದಾಗ, if there is fusion, fertilization, after the 7th day, after the 1 week only, what happens? The result will be shown. Like if there is a fertilization, there will be implantation which leads to the pregnancy. If not, then what happens? The egg will be released, normal menstrual cycle will be continued. Understood? This is what the first step in fertilization event. Understood? Okay, so next we'll continue with the next steps, a few steps. Thank you.